The airport was alive with bright daylight, rolling suitcases, boarding announcements, and thousands of travelers rushing toward their gates. In the middle of the crowd stood a tired single father holding the tiny hand of his 7-year-old son, looking completely lost. His shirt was wrinkled, his backpack was worn, and worry filled his eyes as he searched every sign hanging from the ceiling. A few feet away, a billionaire businesswoman prepared to board her private jet after closing the biggest deal of her career. Their worlds should never have crossed. Yet one simple question changed both of their lives forever. When the exhausted father politely asked her for directions and she overheard where he was trying to go, the billionaire quietly turned to her assistant and did something nobody expected. She canceled her flight without a second thought. Before we continue, if you believe kindness and second chances still exist in today's world, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire so you never miss another emotional journey. The father's name was Callan Pierce, a 38-year-old carpenter from a quiet lakeside town. Life had never been easy, but after losing his wife to a sudden illness 4 years earlier, every challenge became twice as heavy. His little son, Milo, had become his entire world. Every morning Callan woke before sunrise, packed lunches, braided nothing because Milo's messy brown hair refused to stay neat, prepared breakfast, worked long hours repairing homes, and somehow still found enough energy to read bedtime stories every night. Money was always tight. Vacations did not exist. Luxury belonged to other people. But love filled their small rented home more than expensive furniture ever could. 3 weeks earlier Callan had received a letter that changed everything. An elderly woman named Margaret Ellison, his late wife's aunt whom he had not seen in nearly 10 years, had been admitted to a hospice center hundreds of miles away. Doctors believed she had very little time left. Her final wish was painfully simple. She wanted to see Milo one last time. Margaret had treated Callan like family long before he married her niece. She had encouraged him when he struggled through trade school, secretly bought groceries when money disappeared, and reminded him that becoming a good father mattered more than becoming a rich man. Missing this goodbye was unthinkable. So Callan emptied nearly all of his savings to buy 2 economy airline tickets. It was the first time Milo had ever been inside an airport. The little boy stared in amazement at giant windows overlooking airplanes while asking hundreds of curious questions that made tired strangers smile. Meanwhile, only a few gates away, billionaire entrepreneur Celine Whitmore prepared for an entirely different journey. At 43, Celine was known across the country as one of the youngest self-made technology billionaires. Financial magazines admired her discipline. Investors praised her intelligence. Employees respected her impossible work ethic. Yet almost nobody knew how lonely success had become. Her parents had died years earlier. She had no husband. No children. No family dinners waiting at home. Her calendar overflowed with meetings while her heart remained strangely empty. She was about to board her private aircraft for an international conference that promised another billion-dollar partnership. Everything looked perfect. Nothing actually felt complete. As Callan searched the departure screens, he realized he had accidentally walked into the private aviation terminal. Embarrassed, he noticed an elegantly dressed woman standing beside several assistants. Believing she was simply another traveler, he politely apologized for disturbing her and asked for directions to Terminal B. Celine immediately pointed toward the correct hallway. She would have forgotten the encounter within seconds. Then she overheard Milo asking his father whether they would reach Aunt Margaret before sunset because she had promised to wait for him. Callan quietly admitted he hoped so because the doctors were unsure how much time remained. Those words stopped Celine in her tracks. She remembered sitting beside her own mother's hospital bed years earlier after arriving only minutes too late. No amount of money had been able to buy one extra goodbye. The memory still haunted her. She slowly watched the father and son disappear into the crowd. Then she noticed airport staff announcing delays caused by severe weather. Economy departures, including Callan's flight, were being postponed for several hours. Celine looked toward her waiting private jet. It could depart before the storm fully arrived. She closed her eyes. Money had given her unlimited choices. Character would determine which choice she made. Without seeking publicity or recognition, she instructed her assistant to cancel every meeting overseas. Her executives stared in disbelief. The conference had taken months to organize. Millions of dollars were involved. Celine simply smiled. Some opportunities never return. Neither do final goodbyes. Airport employees quickly located Callan before boarding. Confused, he was informed that transportation had been arranged for him and Milo. Assuming some mistake had occurred, he repeatedly insisted he could never afford private aviation. Only then did Celine personally approach him. She explained that no child should lose the chance to say goodbye because of bad weather. Callan's eyes immediately filled with tears. Pride urged him to refuse. Love for Margaret made refusing impossible. Less than 20 minutes later, Milo pressed his face against the window of the private aircraft with excitement brighter than sunshine itself. Everything fascinated him. The comfortable seats. The smiling crew. The quiet engines. The endless blue sky outside. Callan remained overwhelmed by gratitude. During the flight, Celine gradually learned more about the father sitting across from her. He never complained about hardship. Instead, he proudly described Milo's excellent grades, his late wife's beautiful kindness, and the tiny woodworking projects they built together every weekend. Every sentence centered on someone else. Never himself. Celine quietly realized she had spent years building companies while this ordinary carpenter had spent years building a remarkable human being. When they landed, a waiting vehicle hurried them toward the hospice center. Sunlight poured through tall windows as nurses gently welcomed them inside. Margaret lay peacefully surrounded by flowers. Her breathing was weak. Her eyes remained closed. Then Milo softly whispered her name. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The smile that appeared on her face erased every mile they had traveled. She held Milo's tiny hand while tears rolled gently across her cheeks. She thanked Callan for keeping his promise. She blessed the little boy with every ounce of love remaining in her fragile heart. Later that afternoon, surrounded by peace rather than regret, Margaret quietly passed away. Callan stood beside the window holding Milo close. Neither spoke. Some moments are too sacred for words. Outside, Celine remained seated alone on a garden bench. She realized something unexpected. Watching that family share one final goodbye had filled a place inside her that years of business victories never touched. Before leaving, Margaret's attorney arrived carrying a sealed envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter addressed to Callan. Margaret explained that years earlier she had quietly invested in a small construction company after believing in its young founder. That investment had grown far beyond anyone's expectations. She had decided long ago that everything would eventually belong to Callan and Milo. Not because they needed money. Because she trusted their hearts. Callan was stunned. The inheritance included enough financial security to eliminate every debt and provide Milo with every educational opportunity imaginable. Yet the greatest gift wasn't the money. It was Margaret's final words. She wrote that wealth means nothing unless it creates hope for someone else. Those words stayed with Callan forever. Months passed. Instead of buying luxury cars or enormous houses, Callan expanded his small carpentry workshop into a company that hired struggling single parents, military veterans, and workers rebuilding their lives after hardship. Every employee received flexible schedules so they never had to choose between earning a paycheck and attending a school event for their children. Business flourished because compassion became part of the company's foundation. Meanwhile, Celine's life also changed. She reduced endless international travel. She established a charitable foundation helping families reach critically ill loved ones during emergencies. Thousands of families who could never afford urgent transportation suddenly received flights, hotel rooms, and hope. Whenever reporters asked why she created the program, she simply smiled and mentioned that sometimes the most important journey isn't toward success. It's toward someone waiting to say goodbye. Years later, Callan and Milo attended the opening ceremony of the Foundation's 100th Family Assistance Center. Children laughed beneath bright blue skies. Parents embraced loved ones they feared they would never see again. Volunteers filled the building with warmth instead of paperwork. During the ceremony, Celine looked across the crowd toward Callan. Neither considered themselves heroes. They were simply two strangers whose lives changed because one ordinary question had been asked at exactly the right moment. All because a tired father needed directions. And one woman chose compassion over convenience. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you love, leave a heartfelt comment below, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire for more emotional stories that remind us kindness can completely change a person's future. Special request: before this story ends, please comment, "Family comes first," if you believe no amount of money is more valuable than being there for the people we love. As the sun slowly settled across the peaceful afternoon sky, Callan and Milo walked through a neighborhood park where children played without a care in the world. Milo reached for his father's hand just as he had in the airport months before. Callan smiled, realizing that life had not become beautiful because of an unexpected inheritance or a billionaire's generosity. It had become beautiful because kindness had connected two completely different worlds at exactly the right moment. One simple question for directions became a path toward healing, hope, and a future filled with compassion. And perhaps that is life's greatest miracle, not that extraordinary people exist, but that ordinary acts of kindness can transform ordinary lives into unforgettable stories that inspire generations to come.